Oh, well, nice to see you. This is a great day. Great day.
This is episode
Very happy today.
64, which is a very important number for computer nerds like myself, because it's a power of 2. It is, let's see, 2 times 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. Let's see, 2 times 2 is power of 2, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64.
Got it. So
2 to the 7th.
2 to the 7th degree.
Power, man. It's all about power. It's all about power, man.
Is power all caps? Power all caps?
No, just the first. Power. So.
Hey, so interesting thing happened last week over when we communicated, where you had sent me a shot of receding hairlines contest.
Yes.
It was Wags from Billions. And it reminded me that I wanted to check out Damian Lee and Lewis in Band of Brothers, which I had really heard about but never seen. And it's been out since 2001.
Yes.
So there we go.
I remember. I
watched all 10 episodes.
I watched Band of Brothers. That was lent to us as a DVD box set in 2002 or whatever. And my wife and I watched all of that back then. And wow, yes.
Loaned or lent, both, actually.
Loaned
and lent both work.
Loaned or
loaned? It was loaned, and otherwise they was lent to us.
Lent. That's what happens before Easter.
Yeah. Well, so I took 6 days since we last communicated about this, and over those 6 days, I saw the whole 10 episodes.
Wow.
And I was struck by many magnificent things about the movie. I mean, it was very moving and very, very well done. But it was interesting to me that you only heard them mention, I don't know you ever heard them mention the president's name. The only thing they ever said about Roosevelt was that the president has died. And it was one line, and they never said in Truman's the new president. And they also never said anything in the whole thing about the bombing at Pearl Harbor. They never mentioned it.
Huh.
And they ended it with that the Japanese have surrendered. They didn't mention the fucking bomb.
Whoa. You're talking about the Band of Brothers in Europe,
which was a two-front war when Pearl Harbor was bombed, and the United States not only had to finish up Germany, but then they had to go fight in the Far East.
So are you aware? Are you aware that there is a follow-up series called Pacific, where it's the Pacific version of the battle?
No.
Well, there you go.
I didn't know that, and I'd love to see that. But isn't this kind of remarkable that they never mentioned these events, the president, his death, Truman's election, and then the ultimate bomb, and then the end of the war and the Japanese. I loved it and couldn't wait for the next episode until it was completely finished, and I wept at the end of it as anyone with a fucking blood in their veins would. The final concluding quote from Colonel Richard Winters. And this thought only came to me later because I'm reading Winds of War by Herman Wouk that lays out several years before the war when the United States want to get into it because the populace were dead set against it. They were still suffering from World War I. They didn't want to go overseas. The president couldn't get anything through. He did, blah, blah, blah. There's all this drama to bring the United States into the war. Band of Brothers picks up at the conclusion of Winds of War, I assume. I've got 4 chapters left, which is finally landing in Normandy and on the coast and sweeping Europe. But that's where Band of Brothers starts. But it's just interesting. It's so focused on the company that not even a mention of these things. It's just a little weird to me. And I didn't think of that until afterwards.
Right.
It's not like I'm trying to say it detracted from it. It's not my business. It was perfect. But I wonder why.
Yeah, the whole Spielbergization of World War II is what it is. I specifically recall from watching Band of Brothers, I specifically recall what they did where as soon as you began to like a particular character, he died. it was oh yeah, this guy from and it was this formula of, oh, there's a guy from Brooklyn, there's a guy from Kentucky, there's a guy from Wyoming, and there's a guy from whatever. And as soon as you started to really like a particular guy, boom, there's a
Except in this case, it's the company was 105 men, and I think that's the number, and it recounts, I think, based on the stories of the old men that we see
right
interviewed in their intros. Those are the men who told the story that the movie was based on, and they each talked about what was happening, who died, how they died. I remember the trees were being shot up, and it's my belief that through the lens of that group discussion, they reenacted these events in a record which is as good as it could possibly be, because they're, at the end of the day, oh God, give me a number, but how many survived? It might have been 50 something or 30 something. It wasn't many, and then there were replacements and whatnot.
right.
But just wow.
You won't know about this, but there are many video games that are based on that struggle. And first of all, there are video games where you have to storm the beach at Normandy, and then there are video games where you are, at in the forest in Arsène or wherever it was, where it's like super cold, wintry forest. Where so I don't know.
Go ahead.
No.
Landing craft.
It's very like whatever that history is has been popularized and copied so many times, such that whatever we think happened there may be like 7 layers away from what really happened there. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it's stunning accomplishment, just stunning in the Pacific. So who might I know who is in that, and is it as good, or is it quite different, or the Pacific? So I switched, and finally to finish your thought though, I finished it, and then was lucky enough that the most recent episode of Billion, and I couldn't help but thinking that the character in Billions, he was soldier, but 20 years later. And of course, the times don't match up. But I couldn't help but imagine,
right?
Was the soldier, and now this was his job.
Sure.
And of course, the times are all off.
Sure.
50 years, right?
Yeah.
40,
but it's the character, and you see the face. Yeah. So
he's got a remarkable face.
Yes, those creases around, like, they aren't dimples, but they're like creases around his mouth.
Do you know what makes them different than what you see on everybody? You see them on me, you see them on you, is that for him, they're quite far away from his nose and his mouth. Everyone has those creases to a degree which is as pronounced as his. His are just further out. They're further out from his nose and his mouth than ours.
And
you could calculate this. You could calculate this.
Okay.
I'm right about this.
Okay, well, fine. So Pacific has people that you know, but aren't actors that you know the name of, but you will recognize people. So, Dennis, this week I watched with my family a movie on Netflix. So I was tasked with finding a movie on Netflix that would appeal to the whole family, because at the moment we're at this crossroads with my 11-year-old daughter where she wants to watch teen drama shit, and my 7-year-old son wants to watch blow stuff up shit.
Superpowers,
right? Exactly.
Of course.
So
I'm more 7 than I am 11.
Right, exactly. So as it happens, well, first of all, before I go to where I was going first, there is this show from a couple years ago called Supergirl. That is, the premise is, you know it. The premise is it's Superman's cousin, also landed on Earth, and also has the same powers, and also, can do whatever, but she is, nervous and doesn't want to show her powers, but then she does on episode 1, and nice. And
I'm with you.
And so so it's this mixture of this cute young girl talking with cute young boys that appeals to my 11-year-old daughter.
But superpowers
and fights and shit that appeals to my 7-year-old son. So they have this sort of
she doesn't kill.
Well,
right.
I mean, okay.
Yes.
So the problem with the whole superhero genre is that sometimes they like destroy whole buildings, and you have to accept that.
Nobody's in it.
Right, exactly. So, right, exactly. So you have to assume that these buildings are going down and no one is dying, but really, if you think about it for a second,
skyscraper.
Right. It's like, yeah.
So the Superman give him a web of protection, a mental web of protection. So buildings just fucking bounce off him and they walk out unscathed. It's the untold story of the victimless superheroes, people.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great if there was a victimless superhero people? But anyway, so they have been watching this. But where I was trying to go was that I was tasked with finding a movie that would appeal to everyone, and so
what was it, right?
No. So I went to the Googles and I said best animated movies of 2020, and I got a list, and on them was a movie available on Netflix called Bolt. And this is a movie so Disney bought Pixar. Pixar makes amazing movies, and Disney bought them, and then Pixar taught Disney everything that they know, but not the secret sauce to make a great movie that makes the parents cry, because Pixar is the king of making parents cry at the cinema, because they make Toy Story and Inside Out and those movies that if you have a heart and you are a parent, you will cry, because it's all about touching that nerve in the parent. But they were able to make this movie, Disney, called Bolt. And Bolt is a movie about, it's such a dumb premise. So the idea is there's this little girl who adopts a puppy, and between the girl and the puppy, they become actors on this TV show where they are solving crimes and shit, and the dog has these superpowers, but on the show, but
not really though, but in the show.
Yes, Dennis, there are no superpowers in real life.
Well, I just want to make sure
don't
talk to me in a condescending manner. I'll reach through the screen and slap you fucking silly.
But
it's a logical fucking question.
So
you're trying to describe to people a movie within a movie.
Hold on, no,
TV show within a movie.
There are more movies within movies. So, but the premise is that they let the dog think that the dog has these superpowers. So the dog thinks that the dog has this super bark that can destroy stuff, and so somehow they are able to record these episodes where the dog thinks that the dog has these powers. It's such a stupid concept, but
he doesn't.
He doesn't. So
in real life.
In real life. So what happens is the dog gets separated from the girl, and the dog thinks that it needs to go and save the girl, but the dog thinks that it has superpowers, so it can shoot lasers out of its eyes and shit. So but so as the movie progresses, the dog learns that the dog doesn't have superpowers, and so it learns that the only superpower is love, man. So anyway, it's this totally Disney formulaic mess of whatever, right? But that's what happens in the movie. So the dog thinks, oh, I can totally conquer this thing, but in the end, the dog has to ask for help from a cat and a hamster that then help it, because for some reason the dog gets transferred from LA to New York City, and it has to make its way from New York City to LA, and then
it's a road trip.
It's
The road trip
it's a
on
road
top.
trip movie. It is a road trip movie at its core.
It's more complicated than Tom Cruise and Impossible.
Yes.
In
So
Mission Impossible.
as we said about the Between Two Ferns movie, it is at its core a road trip movie. So it's all about. So like
road buddy, right?
So
The dog, girl.
like at some point,
different characters along the way.
right? And at some point, the dog learns that holding your head out the window of a moving car is the best fucking thing ever. Which
Okay.
I can imagine.
Do you
Were
do
I a
that?
dog?
Have you done that?
I have not, but nor am I a dog.
Let the air fill your cheeks so it goes ball. Have you done that?
I
Stick your head out the window and let the car's going so fast that it fills your cheeks. You've never done it?
I have.
You have done it.
I have, but
Got big drooping cheeks, so
well,
they fill up with
I
look like
am.
two fucking balloons.
I'm very much like Droopy the dog or whatever that character is.
Droopy.
Whoever.
Droopy the dog. You're just making this shit up now.
Hold on.
Droopy the dog. No. It was Happy the skunk.
Hold on.
How about Pepe Le Pew?
Hold
Remember
on.
Pepe Le Pew?
Hold on. Fuck you. I just Googled Droopy the dog,
That's not,
and I got Droopy the animated character on Wikipedia.
Oh, it's
Droopy the animated character and singer of the golden age of American animation. He was the anthropomorphic dog with a droopy face. Hence his name.
anthropomorphic.
You're anthropomorphic.
What? Well,
What?
I guess maybe we all. I don't know.
Well.
Droopy the dog. Well, that's kind of who you look like then. You, Droopy the dog. Those
Well.
big ears hanging down. I've never seen anybody's ears so big that the headset doesn't cover up the lobes at all. Your lobes are hanging
Just
so
flopping
low.
around.
There's a song in there somewhere too. There's a song in there somewhere. Your lobes are so low, I don't know, somewhere.
Well,
I have to think about it.
I saw Lisa Loeb in concert once. You don't know who she is?
Lisa Loeb.
Yes.
She have big earlobes,
No.
big earrings.
No. She was pretty cute
Why do
though.
they call her that?
That's her name. Loeb.
Oh,
Loeb. Yeah.
Trump's worst day of his presidency today, the trifecta.
Every day is the worst president.
Three things.
Yes.
Three things. No, that's not true. Supreme Court in two different occasions.
Yeah.
LGBT rights, and also now the Draco.
DACA.
Yes,
DACA.
DACA. And they ruled in favor of
You're right.
the immigrants, of course. Not of course, actually. And the third is that Trump said is on the decline. And every organization known to man is just saying that's not true. It's a trifecta. And he is reeling, and his numbers are plummeting, and independents now have left him from Biden at 17% to now Biden at 50% of independents, led by women, particularly anybody with an education. And my wife and I had to have a bump fist on the idea of this is a great day.
Fist bump.
Is a great day. Fist bump.
Fist bump. Yeah. Yeah. So fuck. I mean, every day feels like the day that obviously everyone is going to turn against him, but here we fucking are.
Oh, it'll happen. When the Senate looks like it's in trouble, the President of the United States is going to learn that at the end of the day, Mitch McConnell's job is to protect the Senate. And when that happens, when and if it happens, I'm not suggesting that it will, but when and if it happens, it would change the course of events. So hope McConnell. I'm not sure if McConnell is man enough to go down with Trump. He is, in fact, half man and half tortoise.
Yes.
And we only see him with his head pulled partially out of his fucking armor, his shell.
Right.
Which is, he's got so much money that he was able to make his shell look like $1,000 suit. But nonetheless, his wrinkled neck only comes out half the way. When he comes all the way out, he begins to morph into Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar.
And at that point, what?
Jar Jar.
Jar Jar?
Jar Jar.
Jar Jar Binks.
Yes.
You kind of look like him. Actually, you talk like him too when you're not on the air. It's funny how you're able to
Yes, I mean, Jamaica, whatever happens there, sir. Yes.
Jamaica me a drink, please.
Yes, amen.
So,
yeah, so...
until the demise of Donald Trump, the next we know there will be Republican defections. This is a fat tire. Very happy to have a six-pack. So I have a tree planting story to tell you.
Fuck me, let's talk about the plants.
So, I've got built up the front yard so that there's a 3-rock high rock wall that makes my yard level. And right up the middle of that heightened yard is a sidewalk that goes to my steps. So I have 2 halves of a yard, one on either side of the sidewalk. Kind of typical, with the sidewalk up the center.
Typical.
And in the center of the approaching on your left, I bought, as we decided, a Japanese maple called a Bloodgood Japanese maple. And when I went to buy it, there were 4 within the size range I wanted, which was between 14-foot minimum, and a 14-foot Japanese Bloodgood maple has a ball that weighs about 250, 300 pounds, right? So picture a tree, 14 foot tall, and at the bottom of it, in burlap and wire, is a ball that weighs 250, 300 pounds and is 18 inches across and 18 inches down. Weighs like shit, but 2 guys can pick it up.
That's a big ball.
Well, in that little line of trees, of 4 Bloodgood Japanese maple trees that were for sale, all for the same price, $399, was one that was nearly twice as thick at the root as the others and nearly 5 feet taller. Stood at 17 feet and had a ball that weighed 400 pounds.
I would go for that one.
And I couldn't have it delivered because there was a 2-week delay, and I've got a trailer, and I have a moving cart that is a heavy-duty moving cart that you'd use to move large boxes. Not the heaviest-duty one that you would rent at U-Haul, but one less than that. And I thought it would be sufficient if I could jimmy rig it, and I had a man hired called Matt the Grunt, who I hire for $20 an hour, who digs holes.
Matt the Grunt, the hole digger.
Fucking Energizer Bunny.
Yep.
Like the Energizer Bunny. Dig. I said, man, why are you going so fast? He said, well, this is my workout. And he's done in like a minute, right? So he was there. He's strong, wiry dude. And so we successfully load that in another tree called a green giant arbavita, which is only 9 feet tall with a 100-pound ball. We load them in the back of my trailer, which is a horse trailer with 2 tires in the center, cut in half, 14 foot long, 5 foot wide, and the tree's laid down inside because I put 4-foot walls up around this trailer. So I get the trees home 15 miles an hour. As luck would have it, once again, you've heard the story before, my lane closest to my house is closed because of work going on the road. That means that I could pull my trailer up with the trees on it in a dead lane and park there as long as I want it.
White privilege, man.
It saved me potential fine or a ticket, or if I planned for it, if you're there more, I don't know, you got a time frame. But anyway, there we are.
Yep.
I take the trailer down, the ramp down, I put a board down, I set the Jitney, the tool I'm going to use, the
Jitney,
and put it up against.
Whoa. The Jitney?
Well, it's.
Let's not be racist here. The Jitney. Wait, you blacked out.
So I got it set.
Okay.
Right. Wait, I actually forgot what it's called. This is
okay, fine.
Remember I told you earlier?
Yes. All right. So
okay.
we're coming down off of the truck.
Get stuff in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a moving cart. What is it called?
The
Find it on the internet. Anyway, but it's minor. It's minor. It's not a big machine. The guy comes. Listen. The guy comes. We push this thing up against the tree and we try to horse it down. We manage to get it halfway down the ramp at some danger to us for straining our back trying to stop it because it's big. It's 18 foot long. It weighs 400 pounds. Just as we're halfway down the ramp, a man comes on a bike, stops at the bike, and says, "You need a ball root cart." And I said, "Wow, what's that?" He said, "It's like what you have, but it's giant sized. I live 2 blocks away. It'll be on the lawn in 5 minutes. My name is Steve." And he drives away. 2 minutes sooner, he wouldn't have known what we were doing. 2 minutes later, we might have struggled up the driveway. But here he is. I get it, and it is a 4-foot iron, aluminum prong at the bottom of the cart. Wheels that are 12 inches big, full of air, strong, and it's 5 foot tall at the bend. And it literally is swooped so that it is shaped like the ball of the tree. And you get it near it, you spin the heavy ball, spin the tree around till it loops into the literal metal net at the base of the tool. And then when you tilt it backwards, 2 of you, we moved it up the driveway and put it in place in less than 2 minutes. 400 pounds, planted it, rolled it right into the hole. And I took it back to the dude. So here's to Steve. Well, I have to find out the name of this tool, but it's a ball, root, tree, something. So anyway, we got the tree in, planted the arborvitae as well, and planted 5 Barberry Rose Glow Bushes, which are fascinating bushes,
Whoa.
spiky.
Barberry Rose Glow Bushes?
Glow.
What is that?
Barberry Rose Glow Bushes with a red tone, and they're spiky, little prickles on them. They're a great security bush. People don't like to walk through them.
Barberry Rose Glow Bushes. Huh. That's a thing. So that's to keep the bad people away?
Well, they're beautiful to begin with. Striking, in fact, but also as a side. They also are good to put in front of a fence and whatnot. If people could climb a fence, let's say you got a 4-foot fence, and in order to get over it, you just put your foot in the bottom rail and leap over it if you're young and agile. But in order to deter that, you might put a hedge of Barberry Rose Glow bushes about 4.5, 5 foot apart,
right,
and plant them, because in 3 years they'll be 5 feet high and they'll each be 4 feet wide. And in order to get to the fence to jump over it, you'd have to push yourself very difficultly. I mean, push yourself hard to get through these bushes that are full of fucking prickers. You don't want to have to do it. So now you know why I chose them.
So
we've planted those as well.
So it's a defense mechanism for the oncoming onslaught of zombies that will come in 5 years from now, in 2025.
It's called I read a short story about it, and the short story is In Defense of Defense.
So you're defending defense? Do you have a fence that you're defending?
Yes. Don't look.
So
I don't want to get defensive about it, but yeah, that's right.
All right. Well,
that's right.
If you got to defend defense.
So I learned, I determined today a new strategy for how to deal with people in public places inside the stores that don't wear masks.
Do tell.
This is my new strategy.
Does it involve like tackling them in some way?
No. And I don't speak to them directly, which is the key point. Instead, I wait until they're near someone who's wearing a mask. And then I go up to the person who's wearing the mask. I stay 10 feet away, and I say to that person, "Thank you for wearing a mask. I appreciate your kindness and your courtesy." And I say that in full hearing of the 2 assholes who are there, who won't spend $1.99 at the door if they don't have a mask, or more than likely have one in the car. And instead of, you don't want to confront people. And I've gone to the management say, we don't throw people out of the store because they don't wear a mask. It's only recommended in the state guidelines. And I say, but you can legally. And they say, well, we don't want to. So that's what I'm doing now. It worked today. A guy heard me. Maybe heard me.
It worked.
He didn't give a fuck.
Right. Like, working means that the person without the mask went out to their car and put on their mask and came back in.
Well, a couple of layers of it. Now,
but in your own mind,
my goal, I'm realistic about this. My goal is not so much for that to happen because I'm not that naive. It's for them to feel a bit of shame. It's just to shame them for just a second. If it was cumulative, maybe they would say something to a loved one and say, I can't believe this asshole today said this thing in the store about thanking this guy that had a mask on, and I didn't have my mask on because I forgot it. And the loved one would say, well, Dad, at your age, I mean, the 2 people I'm picturing here were well in their 70s.
Right.
And at your age, you need to wear a mask. That could happen. if the person recounted the story.
Right.
Follow me? So my goal is really to create a chain reaction, because certainly a bit of a shame or an embarrassing moment isn't enough to change the tide, the rut of, not giving a shit, about wearing a mask. It's like, whatever.
And it really is wild how the percentage, like the chance of contagion, changes when you wear a mask or when you don't.
It's
like between 20% chance or 3% chance, and it's just like, why would you not do that? Yeah, but whatever. Here we are.
So I bought over the net a baseball cap, kind of a nice black baseball over the net.
Over the
net. I bought online.
Yes.
Yes.
Over the net.
And a black baseball cap.
Yes.
That has snapped upon it a shield that goes all the way down below my chin and goes all the way over to my ears. And that, along with a N95 mask, is what I would wear if I happened to have to fly, which I will pick Delta, which literally has got every other seat empty. Delta is killing it. They're killing it with what they're doing. Compared to American Airlines, that's just absolutely abysmal. And I've just booked my wife for a Delta trip to North Carolina, where the cases are up, which I wish the whole country would stop reporting cases, because cases is, in fact, a huge piece of data relying on testing. What they need to be reporting on is hospitalizations and not so much morbidity, but hospitalizations, because it could be that now that there's been more experience in hospitalizations, that the morbidity rate is gone down. But hospitalizations is what we need to track, and they in fact are up,
right, in
20 states, I believe. But they report it as the number of cases, because it's a bigger number, and that's not what they should be reporting. They can report it, but they should say that isn't the number you need to know, because now we have testing available, and where before we didn't know. I had no idea. Now we know. But the real issue is, so how many people are getting sick or sick enough to be hospitalized, which is the standard measure. Because anything below that you want to know, but anything below that is hard to know.
Yeah.
What's not so hard to know is a hospital entry, although the entire state of Florida refuses to report that number. They refuse to report the number of hospitalizations, let alone deaths. So my buddy sends me this poster. Did I tell you the story already?
Not yet. About
the Watkins Glen Festival?
In
1973? Watkins Glen, 1973.
Tell me.
At the time, the world's largest rock and roll outdoor event. And sends me a poster. And on the poster, 1973, has the two big bands, the Allman Brothers and the band. And he sends me this note, and it says, Dennis, do you remember any of this? Do you remember even going? In fact, I'm worried. Maybe you should have your wife read this note to you, because based on what happened in 1973, I'm afraid that you might be lost now. Love, your cousin Dick. So I start to think, and I can't remember hardly anything about Watkins Glen, but I do have a picture I took of a dude in a tent with the doors wide open.
Yeah.
Dressed like a hippie, long hair and a beard, tie-dyed shirt, sitting cross-legged in the center of the tent with the door wide open, and his hippie girlfriend behind him also in tie-dyes, pillows everywhere, and he considers himself a wizard, and he's given me a wizard sign, with his hands out to like cast a favorable, benevolent spell on me. Right. And the name of the black and white photo is Wizard, and I know I have that, and I know I was there, but I don't remember anything about it. We ended up talking for an hour. Yes, this recall that I can't believe it's been 47, 49 years, whatever.
Yeah.
And he remembers where we stopped, what we bought, where we camped. And so I can't remember. So I Google that, and I say to him, by premise, I say, the band, huh? The band. Because I swear to God, the only time I heard the band was when I walked into an arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the last 15 minutes of the band playing, and stood up in the back and heard them play with Bob Dylan.
Right.
That's the only time I recall for hearing the band. And he says, "Oh no, Dennis, you were there. The band played."
Wow.
So I Google and I get the recording of the band opening playing live at Watkins Glen, and God damn it, if it doesn't all come back to me. And I had forgotten for 1973. You do the math. It's been nearly 50 years.
Yeah.
And it is indeed, and I want you to do a Wikipedia post of the word.
Yeah.
Right?
Revelatory.
Oh God. And then it came back.
Wow.
And it's a lot more to the story, but I'll
next episode.
But there's reasons that I don't remember any of it. I still don't remember much of any, but I do remember they're playing this opening tune, and it rained like hell. It rained like crazy. And the next day after we got up, and I do recall under a tarp that had sticks, put it up in sleeping bags and wet and rainy, that the next day, without exception, 600,000 people. 600,000 people left their shit in the mud. Their sleeping bags,
that's stinky.
Their chairs. Well, as did we.
Right.
As did we.
Yeah.
The mud was squish. It was almost a foot deep. It poured.
Wow.
I remember that. I did it, but now I do. A revelation.
I didn't, but now I do. Well, that's a great story to end on, Mr. Dennis. Good evening to you. Stay safe. Keep your distance. Keep shaming people that don't have their masks on. And we'll see you next week, I guess.
Oh, this morning
to
march on. I won't be there with you because of my problem of breathing, my dear. You'll have to do the march all alone.
Oh, no.
And each time my lungs pain with breathing, I'll think about you on your march. And each time I'm breathing, you will be believing. I remember George Floyd saying I can't breathe. Oh, darling, this breath sure hurts me, but no knees on my neck, can't you see? And so when I hope I'm relieving the pain that he felt when he died on the...
Fuck. So, good week to you.
Hello. We'll see you next happy hour.
Amen. Brother Dennis.
Brother Eric.
That's it for episode number 64. Thank you for listening. You can find all the show notes of all the different tools and concerts and things mentioned at happyhour.fm/064. And if you'd like to help support us, you can go to patreon.com/happyhour. Give us a couple bucks every month would be wonderful. And that's it. You guys be safe out there. We'll see you next week.